I don't usually film in really like dark areas like right now in my car outside of the gym, but I gotta make an exception today. For those of you guys that are new to my channel and that are watching this video as like the beginning of my series for this series thing, my name is John Vialta. I'm a 4th year computer science and engineering major at UC Merced. I post videos usually about fitness, kind of leaning into like music and stuff and vlogs. But I do kind of want to get more into like the whole entire world of like my career and such. And so that's what this whole entire series is going to be about. I'm at the gym for one reason, it's of course to work out, but I am going to be getting footage that I'm going to be using as like background footage while I talk about what this series is going to be about and what my plans are for it and how I'm going to engage in it. So let's get this video started.
Making myself a career.
Now, before I start this video, the main reason why I'm making this series is because there are a lot of series on YouTube explaining to you how to become a front-end or just computer science graduate, like how to get your career started after graduating from a computer science field. And the thing is that all of these videos come from people who already have these careers, which of course is definitely the point of view you want to be looking from, but you don't really have many people posting videos on their journey on seeking that career from the ground up. Because it could seem like, all right, you are at point A having been close to graduating or graduating, and you have these videos of people at point B where they have the job, but it just seems like a whole entire indistinguishable journey in between. And so that's why I want to clarify that journey by posting the series. So let's get it started. So now I'm technically at the gym here in this video. For those of you that are curious, I believe it was a Tuesday, so it is a lower body session for squats. But now on to the career section of what I was going to be talking about, right? So a few weeks back, about like a month and a half ago, I had a quarter-life crisis where I couldn't go to sleep because I was like, wait, I'm a year from graduating, I don't know exactly what I'm studying, how am I gonna get a job, what am I gonna do with my life? So I spent the next few days like studying, all right, like what do people emphasize like once they start like going into their upper division classes? What can they do on their own time to like get some more skills, and what should they aim for when trying to be a type of engineer, and what kind of engineers there are. After a bunch of research, I got over things that like I had heard before in my classes from professors and from friends. You can go into cybersecurity, where you're like actually creating, security for a company, which is a really high level thing to do and it's a little difficult. You can go into data analytics, you can go into testing securities and stuff, such where you work for like a firm that tests security protocols for companies and such. You can go to like front-end engineering, which is where you develop UIs. You can go to back-end, you can go to, which would be like server-side stuff. You could go to game development, you can go into app development. This is the whole world of stuff. And so after a lot of research, right, I came up to I felt more in connection with like front-end engineering, because I felt like that was what I had been doing before for the most part. Most of the tiny little personal projects that I had done had been in terms of like working with a set of data and just like producing something that can be displayed or used for someone. And so I thought, okay, well, there's a lot of things that go into that like surface or field of programming, but the ones that stick out the most are like front-end engineering, where you'd be working with like some sort of application or like creating an application for a company, or you'd be working on a website or some user interface, and these are the things that would be communicating with the server and that the user would be like interacting with, stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, so front engineering seems interesting, right? Out of all the things that I've found, what do I need to do to become a front-end engineer? Okay, and what opportunities, what chances, what locations are there? What would my future be looking like if I want to become a front-end engineer? And so I looked through it. Okay, you have to learn the basics and, well, the essentials of like languages like HTML, CSS, JavaScript frameworks or libraries like Angular, Vue, React Native, things like that. And once you become like situated with these programs and they're like comfortable, and you've toyed with them, you recognize them, you know them, you're comfortable with them, you've been able to create some sort of applications on your own, that's when the job seeking process begins. And so, I looked through these languages and I was like, okay, I can create these types of interfaces, websites, applications, things like that with them. How hard are they to learn? Where can I learn them? And so after some time, I realized that there's a pretty good amount of like, not only documentation, but simple tutorials on YouTube videos, crash courses that you can pay for that are like $50 that will go really in depth with these languages. What else did I find? Apps on the phone that you can use to learn these languages. And in the end, on estimate, to become efficient with these languages, I would need about a year, which is about how much I have. But that's what the idea that you aren't familiar with like languages already, and that you'd be learning these from the ground up. And so of course I didn't know when I was starting off this, career searching thing. I wasn't familiar with HTML, wasn't familiar with CSS and all these other languages. So I kind of was starting up from the ground up, except from knowing the fundamentals of languages in general, knowing paradigms, knowing techniques, and just the foundational stuff of how to code, not how to code a certain language. So I had the career path of choice because, it seemed like something that wasn't too difficult. Cause of course I didn't want to rat out and try to do something super easy, like go into not trying to roast people, but not exactly go into IT or something like that, where it wasn't like something super difficult that would like use a lot of like technical skills and problem solving. But it wasn't something like fucking cybersecurity and encryption where it was like you were gonna be using a bunch of math and gonna have to like really get into the nitty gritty of like some very detailed and complicated processes that are not exactly high level but important and crucial to the company. That does not sound very ideal for me. I wanted something that was simple, that I could, not simple, but something more lower level that I could handle, that wouldn't like stress me the fuck out all the time. So front-end engineering seemed like the way to go. I did read a bit about full stack engineering, but trust me when I say that a lot of these videos will neglect the fact that as a junior engineer, which is someone that you're like when you're coming out as an undergraduate, or when you just don't have any experience with like software development or coding in general yet as like a profession, like it's your first job, companies aren't going to trust you to like handle the data as a back-end engineer, because that's crucial information and crucial data that they need. So it's very unlikely that you're going to be getting any sort of full stack or back-end engineering positions. So for the time being, I'm just going to focus on front-end engineering, which seems to be the safest bet, just out of all the options that I seem to have. Okay, so I had the career choice in mind, okay? I figured out what languages I would need to learn, right? Figured out how long it would take, what resources I could use, pretty much just using crash courses. I'll put 2 or 3 links in the bottom. I'm just using a YouTuber called Code with Mosh, and then the B2B schools. That's what I'm using right now for learning the languages. My ass has been acting up. I need some water. So, I pretty much had the whole entire path mostly like recognized and set. I have pretty much gone through the process of learning the essentials or basics to HTML. I'm able to create a static web page that can display a set amount of information and a set very basic style, just because I don't know CSS yet. But that's where I am right now. And so from there, you have to, what I did to just better define what I want to do is look up the different types of opportunities or like positions, like in terms of locations and pay rates and all this stuff. Of course, you have things like anywhere in the Silicon Valley, San Francisco, Seattle, Los Angeles, different places in Texas like Houston or Austin, Denver, Colorado, New York, many different options in the US. To me in particular, what mattered the most was an area that wasn't too overly crowded or overly busy in like LA, because I'm right next to LA. I've driven through LA. The area seems so saturated in terms of everything. It's not something that I like, and it's very almost like not very similar, but it's the same ordeal with like San Francisco, that I also don't like San Francisco in terms of living there, just because like it's so it's just too much there. I don't know. I don't like it. I'd like something that's like in between, where it's like, well, at least for my standards when I was looking through these cities, I wanted something that was like in between, where it wasn't like a massive metropolis that had all this massive history and massive set of problems in terms of like overpopulation, poverty, and cost of living, all that stuff. So I was like, okay, I don't want something super expensive, but I want something that's still kind of rural in the sense that it's like not one of the main cities that people will go to. And so that pretty much crossed out all of California for these major cities. It crossed out New York. I've never really been interested in New York regardless. It just seems way too big of an apple. So that left pretty much Texas, which is what everyone makes fun of, especially as of late with their crisis. Very unfortunate for them. That left Denver, Colorado, and it left Seattle. as like the main options. Of course, you can also find a lot of small cities that have tiny companies that you can like work for, but I wanted something a little bit bigger that would stand out in terms of like, you know, that still kept that lively city kind of vibe too. Texas, too humid for the most part for me. Doesn't really interest me. No. My sister's been to Texas. She likes like the food there. She likes people there. She says it's very humid though, and I'm not very good at humid. Like even my asthma's acting up right now because it's been raining recently, and the heat, the climate's been getting, the air's been feeling a little thicker right now. Might just be my sinuses. I left Denver, Colorado, and Seattle, which had pretty much been the main options for me ever since like second year of university. I did the research. Colorado is a lot more urban and I guess rural because it's like a lot fresher and newer than Seattle. Seattle is still a very new city, but it's like, according to a lot of videos that I'd seen, it's a very rushly built city. Like it seemed like Seattle was just built overnight, and it was like, bam, everything's new. And Colorado, Denver is still also like that, but it's taking more of its time. Of course, it's colder in Denver, it snows. A lot of like influencers that I follow live in Denver, Colorado, surprisingly. It's more like in the fitness group. But after just researching videos and like the type of people that there are there, the climate, how far things are from there, the type of attractions, it seems like Seattle was the much more greener, like close to nature, too hot, not like the temperatures weren't so extreme in terms of climate, wouldn't get too hot, wouldn't get too cold, all this stuff. So a combination of all of those made it seem like Seattle was the better option over Colorado. The companies too that are available in Seattle are much larger. There's Amazon and Microsoft as two titans over there compared to Colorado, which doesn't have as many. I think the biggest one in Denver was Oracle, I think, which is a cybersecurity. Well, no, it doesn't have to be only cybersecurity. It's cybersecurity all the way to like cloud-based data processing stuff. And that's not also as much as like the type of field that I want to go to in computing. So it seemed like Seattle was the better option. Cost of living, obviously Colorado was more affordable than Seattle, but Seattle wasn't like completely out of reach. You know, Seattle like average around $1,500 for an apartment, which is very affordable for someone doing computer science once they graduate. That's not even that bad compared to like Los Angeles area. Los Angeles area is very expensive, and in Merced, for example, if I paid for an apartment by myself there, I'd be paying about $1,100. So it's literally not even that much compared to like other alternatives. I don't know why a lot of YouTube videos, when I watch them, they'll be like, yeah, Seattle isn't the cheapest. It's kind of expensive, and it's like, you're paying $1,100, $1,500, $1,700 for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, not even studio, but apartment in a metropolis-looking city. That's really fucking good. I don't know what you guys are talking about. And they don't even pay taxes for certain things. I don't remember what it is, but yeah, it's really affordable for a city that size. Of course, that is changing as the city expands the way now, attracting people like me. Hey, I'm gonna take advantage. I'm gonna live over there, or my plan is to move over there, get a career set up over there, set myself up, get a job, get swole, compete, enjoy life over there, you know? Set my career and future over there. So pay rate seems good, area seems good, companies that I could work for in front-end engineering seem good. That's pretty much literally just it. You have like I figured out what I need to do. I figured out where I want to go. I figured out why I want to go over there, or why I want to do this. Here, we'll explain it at the end. So I think the biggest crucial thing for figuring all this out is figuring out the whys to all this stuff. Because a lot of people, when they go into like computer science or computer engineering, they'll think, okay, big money, or okay, I like building computers. But that's not all what you're going to be doing if you're going to be studying these things, or if you are studying these things. And if you're a second year or third year, or especially fourth year, you've probably figured this out by now. Maybe not second year, but third year, fourth year, you've definitely figured that out by now. But you're not gonna be fucking building PCs as a job. My facial hair looks pretty musky. Gotta keep it growing though. Eventually it'll come in. So yeah, for my first project for these things, well actually I'll discuss my projects later. I have a couple of ideas set up for what kind of different like web pages I want to build for myself to like put into my portfolio. I figured out what career I want to like choose out of the massive field of computer science, that being front-end engineering. From there, I figured out the requirements needed on average to become eligible and a good choice as a front-end engineer, and that would be learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and a framework for JavaScript, along with some sort of, I forgot the name of it, but An example would be Git, where like you have this whole entire database that you can collaborate with individuals. Yeah. So pretty much learning all of those would get you set with like getting a front end engineering job. And then from there, you want to choose you want to find a good location that has a good pay rate, that has a good cost of living, that has good opportunities in terms of companies. For me, Seattle with Amazon or Microsoft or a bunch of other companies that are there. And that's pretty much it. The time frame is looking around like by the end of next spring semester or even by the beginning of it, somewhere around that time frame. I should be pretty much set in terms of learning most of the skills, and all I would need to do is just finalize my whole entire portfolio of personal projects. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys are a computer science major, if you guys were also lost like me and are having a crisis right now, what are the biggest problems that you guys are looking at in terms of whys, and how are you going to approach these problems and figure them out? What kind of questions are you asking yourself? What kind of resources are you using to try to solve these problems? Was my video helpful for you? What cities are you looking into? Why are you looking into maybe not being or being a front-end engineer like I am? If you guys are interested in learning the things that I'm going to be learning and following my journey of actually getting a career, then make sure you guys subscribe to follow my videos. Make sure that you guys get a feel for what it is to prepare yourself for a career in computer science as a front-end engineer. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this first episode.